Hello, everybody, and welcome to Norm, the Cheers podcast that isn't. It's been a couple of weeks, and I want to start this off with an apology, because apparently when you folks go without Norm for a couple of weeks, shit gets crazy. The world goes nuts. We're hoping that being back leads everyone to settle down just a little bit.
Take it
and
down
relax
a notch.
and calm themselves. Whew.
It is true.
It's been a bit.
I will point out, let's see what day of the week that was. That might have been on us. Let me look back on the old calendar. Yeah, it looks like oh yeah, we messed up, guys. We did not have a show on January 6th. We got to be more on top of it.
Yeah, we got to make sure we keep everybody at home.
Mm-hmm.
Give everybody a reason to just plunk down in front of the computer.
You ever wonder if we had started this before March of 2020, if any of this would have even happened?
Great. We should have been doing this in 2016, frankly.
Yeah. Yep.
October 2016 is when we should have started.
Even asked about our emails.
No.
Actually, we should have been doing this in real time prior to the first Reagan presidency, and then everything would be smooth sailing.
If we had done this before the Iran hostage crisis, everything's different.
Okay, so like fetal me would have been tuning in remotely, adding some live.
We would have had you live via sonogram,
right? Via ultrasound, sure.
Yeah. Just think if we had been broadcasting in November of '63, no Vietnam.
Oh.
If only Gavrilo Princip had been able to tune in to our Cheers recap show.
If only we had been the viewing option at the Last Supper.
Oh.
Does Judas even feel like he needs any silver? Wouldn't the joy be enough?
Just imagine a TV set up across from all those apostles in the painting. That's what they're looking at. That's why
they're all on one side of the table.
When those two molecules rub together, I would have said a little less hydrogen in the Big Bang. We got a lot of it right now.
There's enough bang. It's more than enough bang. All right, we have a hard out here today, and we are trying to squeeze 2 episodes into this one episode because we thought the first episode was more of a filler episode, and then out of nowhere, Tookie and Dave were like, "Oh, I really enjoyed that episode." So now we got to spend some time on it. So I don't know how we're doing this, but we're going to try to squeeze all of this in very quickly. We're starting with, it's episodes 24 and 25 of season 3. That is wrapping up season 3, saying goodbye to Coach firmly. And there's a lot going on here. All right, so very quickly, let's do a quick rundown. What was going on when the Bells of St. Clete's came to us, Dave?
Well, I did a little kind of taking the temperature of America for these 2 weeks, May 6th or rather May 2nd and May 9th, 1985. And I looked up the Nielsen ratings for that time period, ending the May 12th. Any guesses as to what the number 1 Nielsen rated show in that time was? New show?
Cosby.
Gotta be Cosby. 24.1. 24.1. There's a huge number of primetime soaps. Dallas Dynasty is finishing 2 and 3. 7 and 8 are Knots Landing and Falcon Crest, and Hotel is at 9. And Cheers is coming in at a very solid 13. Man, you got Family Ties coming in at 4. You could see that the seeds of that Thursday night domination. Night Court's at 21. Just behind Cheers, A-Team is starting to make its push. Simon and Simon is still in the top 12. And the list only went up to the list went to 69, which I thought was an omen of sorts. And I wanted to know which was the 69th rated show. And it seemed fitting somehow, but in a way that I'm not exactly sure why. Number 69 was Rick Schroeder's Silver Spoons.
Huh.
Well then.
With Alfonso Ribeiro.
With the estimable Alfonso Ribeiro.
I don't think he comes on for another season or 2, but yes, Alfonso does break through on Silver Spoons. after being the tap dance kid on Broadway.
That's right.
Yeah.
With Ben
Mhm.
Vereen, right?
I believe so.
R.I.P. Ben Vereen.
That man was a god. Loved Ben Vereen. All right. So, by the way, A-Team aged very, very badly.
Oh,
In
yeah.
every way, the A-Team has aged
Really?
horribly.
Really?
Just sociopolitically. As a show, like you realize, and on some level I knew it as a kid, like you don't really realize the pattern quite so much where, you're going, oh boy, I hope they build something at the end of this one. And you just don't get that every week it's the same episode of television. It's shocking. Like I was on Peacock and I went back and I watched the pilot and I was like, you know what, this is kind of fun. Aside from George Papard doing Yellowface, this is kind of fun.
Oh.
How about that? That's
Yeah.
right.
Oh yeah.
Is it John Wayne as Genghis
Oh,
Khan
yeah.
level bad?
Yes. Oh, it's very bad. He plays a Chinese laundromat owner.
Oh no.
Yeah.
No.
To vet the
Jeez.
client, and he's spouting proverbs, and it's bad. Oh, he's got the
Oh,
teeth, man.
no.
Oh, it's real bad. Real bad.
No.
Yep. Now, that being said, the structure of the pilot, that's a good movie there. There's a good movie inside of this patently offensive 2-part TV show. And there was a different face man in the pilot. I don't know if not everyone remembers that. Dirk Benedict was not in the pilot. It was another fellow who ended up not being famous, but worked for a long time. But it was so clear that he was like dramatically younger than the rest of the A-Team. You're like, you were in Vietnam? Are you sure? Yeah. It was kind of wild. They just he was very funny. He was good. He was like really good in the part, but yeah, it was insane to think that he was part with these guys in Vietnam 10 years prior. As a scripted drama, did not work super well. Okay, speaking of scripts, let's get through the Bells of St. Clete's. Tookie, what happens in the cold open?
Okay. So we have the intro. Norm strolls into the bar very early in the morning, which, like, what the hell are the hours of this establishment? Morning, Sammy. And Sam says, "Oh, well, Norm, what brings you in this time of day?" Well, same thing that always does. Same thing that always does. And Sam's like, "Wow, it's a little early for a beer, isn't it?" And Norm replies, "So float a cornflake in it," which yuck. Says, "No, seriously, what brings you in so early?" And Norm explains, "Well, the supervisor got sick, had to go home early, and left me in charge of the office, so I closed it. And I thought I'd stop by here, figure out what to do with the rest of my day. I got 24 golden hours to spend on Norm Peterson. Any suggestions?" And Sam says, "Well, if it were me, I'd go out sailing. It's perfect weather and the water won't be crowded." Norm's like, "I don't know. I'd get seasick, though. I don't know." Yeah. And Sam says,
Even
"Well,
though
you
later
could
on
always
we find out he was in the Coast Guard.
Oh,
Right.
that's right. Oh, that's
But
right.
I'm not a stickler.
Yeah. And then so Sam says, "Well, you could always go to the driving range, work on your slice." Nice motion there. And Norm says, "No, I don't have my clubs with me." "Well, how about checking out that gym you've been putting off joining?" "No, I'm not in the mood to sweat, "Oh, honestly, you could just set up that workshop in your garage. And, well, I'd have to clean it out first. It's a mess," which everyone's garage is a mess, Norm. And Sam says, "Well, Norm, you could just sit here all day shooting down my ideas and drinking beer." Norm goes, "Wait a minute. Oh, I think you're onto something here. What do you say we put a head on this thing, the beer he's drinking, and keep it coming with more ideas?" And so it's just fade to black. "Well, how about skydiving?" "Nope, mess up my hair. Roll credits."
A fun cold open. And I will say, for the entirety of this episode, it's a weird episode, The Bells of St. Clete's. Simply in that it is so clearly not doing anything. They're ready for the finale. The story is not furthered. Coach is obviously not there. He's gone. They never reference it. It's very weird, that they haven't moved on at all. That they don't reference where the waitress they had hired a couple of weeks prior ever went to. Not mentioned. It's just somehow now it is just Sam and a 7-month, or looking like a 10-month pregnant woman running this bar. together. Nobody else helping them. It's just weird. Now, that being said, I don't think it's a poorly written episode. I thought Ken Eston had some fun jokes in there, and I think he had a tough task, which was, hey, just do something that doesn't change the story at all before we get to the finale, which is next week. So give us like something with Carla and something with Cliff, which is exactly what he did. He wrote a story about I will say I do, and like I said, I enjoyed the writing. St. Clete's School for Wayward Girls is very funny as a title. That's a great name for a school. Drusilla DiMiglio, Carla's former headmistress, comes into the bar. She's convinced it's her. Everyone else is kind of on the fence about it. She's saying she wants to get revenge on her, has her old schoolmates come in. We have our 80s moment of pregnant women drinking beer together happily.
God.
Marsha Warfield's there, who's an 80s moment all by herself.
What is she known for?
What? Oh, she's Night Court.
Oh, see,
Yeah, as
I still
on
have
Night
yet to
Court.
get to that.
Yeah,
It's
she's your
fun.
third bailiff.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep. It's on IMDb TV, so
Oh,
it's worth catching. The first
not
couple
on
of
Peacock.
episodes, you're kind of like, "What's happening?" Yeah, it really settles in season 2.
Okay.
Yep. So there's, and then also the 80s moment of sexually assaulting Sam behind the bar. Yeah. And then later on, Drusilla comes back looking for a wallet. Carla realizes it's Drusilla and makes peace with her and realizes she's probably better off for having known her, but still shaves half her head. And that's the A story. The B story is Cliff talking about his lady prowess. No one believing him. He's getting letters from Florida, he says, are from a woman he had an affair with down there. By the way, it's one of the rare times someone is referring to an affair, but not cheating. I feel like that was also something that was different. For a long time, you could just have a love affair between two people, and it was just a passionate romance. And now I feel like affair is specifically someone's cheating on their spouse. That is what affair means in the 21st century. And he's talking about these letters he's getting. Everyone's doubting his prowess. Norm accidentally gets the letter when it falls out of the pocket, reads it. It is actually just them asking him to pay for all the stuff he took from the motel in Florida. Everyone finds out that Norm has the letter. Norm is a pal and makes up this romantic letter that, and adding to the, Cliff might at least swing from both sides of the plate. He leaves asking Norm to read the sexy letter again as they go to get a burger. And yeah, so that's that. Those are the A and B stories. And definitely this episode really kind of makes you go, what are the hours of this bar? It's really weird. Like, it's closed down. Sam is going on a date. They have enough time for Carla to shave Drusilla DiMiglio's head, half of it, and still hang out. Why does Drusilla let her shave half of her head? Does she chloroform her? What happens? It's almost like somehow she doesn't know that it happened, but they're still hanging out. I get that it was a funny sight gag, but it did leave me going, I don't understand how that actually happened. I get the joke. It bothers me that I don't know how that joke actually occurred, because it's impossible to show. Yeah. So that was the part that left me wanting in this. Your thoughts on the Bells of St. Clete's?
Yeah, that is the thing that I find confusing about it seemed like there was an opportunity for a scene to exist between Carla and DiMiglio, and that was kind of where the episode sort of was trending, and it never did that. We never saw that version, and so that we don't kind of fully understand like exactly the mechanics of what happened. Like, I found this episode to be like so pleasant as a background episode of TV. Like, when people talk about loving to have Frasier on in the background, like this would be like my background TV would be just this episode of Cheers. But yeah, it's a little, it's funny that they chose to do a scene with the four women who I loved, actually, Marsha Warfield and the other women from the school.
They were fun.
They were great, but like that scene doesn't do anything really. It was funny that they sort of chose to use that screen time for that as opposed to something between Carla and DiMiglio.
It is weird, yeah. And by the way, so those are our A and B stories. There's also the sort of C story of the last few weeks of this season, where there's just phone calls between Sam and Diane. Where so Frasier is athletically prowess in this point of Cheers, where he's shushing down the slopes. She accidentally hits him with the skis and knocks him out in one of the worst pratfalls ever, where he gets hit in the head and just kind of gently rolls onto the ground, like unfolding very gently a slinky. And then, later on, he's being noisy and she screams at him to stop. And then for some reason, she whacks the chimney like she's annoyed with Frasier, like Frasier did something wrong for trying to heat the chalet. I don't know. As we go through these last few weeks, I'm left sitting there going, why are you proposing to this woman, Frasier? Oh my good Lord, Frasier, what are you doing? Don't you think you deserve more than this?
Well, speaking of, one of my 80s moments was the fact that concussions were humor back in the day.
There was no CTE.
No.
If you ever watch one of my all-time favorite movies, I could watch it on an endless loop, is Midnight Run. But the amount of head trauma that was undiagnosed in Midnight Run is unbelievable. Tookie, have you never seen Midnight Run? Have we talked about this when Charles Grodin died?
I don't think so.
Oh, Tookie Kavanaugh.
I know.
Oh, Midnight Run is so great. No, this isn't a what are you doing? It's like almost just me jealous of you getting to watch Midnight Run for the first time.
Okay. Well, where's it streaming?
It's on Netflix, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, okay. Well, then I can watch it tonight. Perfect.
Oh, you need to let me know how you like it.
Okay.
I shouldn't say that. That's too much pressure. And then you're watching it like every time you're like, oh God damn it. Do I have to like update it? And then I'm gonna be the passive aggressive dick. Like, did you get it?
No.
No,
I trust your recommendation.
That was always yes. We steered you right on Columbo.
Yes.
Yep. That was always my least favorite thing about someone recommending comedy to me, especially British comedy. Where like you'd watch it, and if you didn't like it, they'd go, "Did you get it?" Look, I got it. I know. I understand what the loo is. I just didn't love it. Thank you.
I know what a fanny is, sir.
Oh, this is a family show, Dave.
Oh, forgive me. I forgot it's not 8:00 yet.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. All right. Should we run through some categories for St. Clete's?
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
All right. I did my 80s moment. Dave, what's your 80s moment of the week for Bells of St. Clete's?
Oh boy, I'm gonna call an audible. I love the this is something I feel that we don't see very much anymore. I love the obvious stock footage edited into the arrival of a character, in this case Frasier Crane, skiing down the hill,
yeah,
and then arriving to the applause of like 9 people on set. Have in some sound studio in Los Angeles, and literally saying "Thank you, good people of the Alps" as he walks in. Like one of my favorite entrances ever, and they really kind of cobbled a joke out of the fact that like it's like cobbled together with footage from the Olympics from 1962 or something.
That was great.
Tookie, your 80s moment.
Okay, I'm going to run through these really quickly. So the TV trope of a man having to go boil water when a woman's in labor. Someone sends Sam to go, oh, Sam, go boil water. Okay. A school for wayward girls and boys. Like they are a thing, but they were like a thing back in the day. I have an uncle who he eventually went on to graduate from Harvard in the same class, 1962, as Ted Kaczynski, but that's neither here nor there.
That was a fucking journey to
but he was at a school for wayward boys.
Find out it was her Uncle Teddy.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So who is it? One of the St. Clete girls telling Carla she's growing a Fu Manchu. That was oof. That was an oof more than an 80s moment. Sam calling the group of girls from St. Clete's a lynch mob. What?
Ooh, yeah.
What? Yeah. Mustache guy is back. He was at the back of the bar again that
I
episode.
saw a mustache guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I missed Mustache Guy.
Mustache guy's back. And lastly, Roxy's hair. Roxy, Carla's black friend from St. Clete's, had a full Jerry curl, like an Ice Cube and NWA Jerry curl. Like it was like somebody's couch was getting ruined that night.
That's I guarantee Marsha Warfield was doing her own hair because that was her look throughout like the 80s and early 90s.
Mm-hmm.
Addendum. So interesting. It's the lynch mob is very 80s because as a young person, I did not understand. I just thought a lynch mob was a bunch of like angry people going out for justice. Like it just had such a different connotation to the point where we played intramural basketball and one of the captains' last names was Lynch. And I suggested the team name should be the Lynch Mob.
Oh no.
There was a Hard
she
Rock.
smartly said, I don't think so. And I said, but it's right there. That's such a great name. And I really want to thank her for being way smarter than 12-year-old me.
She was way smarter than adult who should have known better. George Lynch, guitarist formerly of Dokken, who named his solo project The Lynch Mob.
Jeez. Oh, it's March 1st, but you know what? We're counting just for that. We're counting February 30th and 31st.
Yeah, these count.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Joke of the week. My joke of the week is just the name St. Clete School for Wayward Girls. It tickled me every time it was said. I loved the Saint. I loved Wayward. I thought it was just really, really perfect phrasing and summed up the time and the joke and what was going on really perfectly. Because a lot of names could have been almost too sad to be funny for what School for Wayward Girls actually was. So it's like just the way that they phrased that. It was a delicate balancing act, and they pulled it off, and I really liked it. Tookie, your joke of the week.
Norm ending that racy letter. Respectfully yours. I cackled.
Respectfully yours is pretty perfect.
Yeah. I cackled.
Dave, your joke of the week.
It was good. It was going to be respectfully yours. It was so good. It was so good. I'll go with Frasier's entrance as he turns to his friends in the chalet and says, "Thank you, good people of the Alps." It didn't even get a laugh, but I cracked up. Like it's so what a spectacular way to transform what could be clunky expositional writing into an absolute moment that we understand who Frasier is.
All right. How white was this week's episode?
Surprisingly not that white. Okay. So there were no people of color in the cold open, but scene one, there was a black woman in the upper booth chair, another black man sitting by the Melville stairs, a black man in a gray suit by the back wall, a black woman on a payphone, a black woman in a red jacket. She had like a Beat It jacket. Yeah, sitting by the piano, a black man in beige who passed by Sam at the bar. In scene two, there was a black man in the far back corner by the stairs, a black man sitting in the booth by the stairs, like the entry stairs, a black woman behind Sam at the back wall. Roxy counts as one of our people of color. A black man.
Speaking lines, big moment.
Big.
I think the first woman of color to have a line in Cheers so far.
I think there might have been an Asian woman who had some speaking. Yeah. And of course the kid where you guys recognize Corey Feldman, that one episode, and one of the little league kids.
Episode.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we definitely had some dudes, but not a whole lot of female representation.
Yeah. A black man in a tan suit at the bar on the jukebox side, a black man sitting with a lady in the booth to the left side of the door. And then in scene three, a black man by the piano and another black man on the phone. So in total, we have 16 people of color.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah.
The Sam creepy quotient for the week. An interesting week for this because it's almost the Sam was the victim this week. Really, it was a very unusual turning of the tables upon Mr. Sam Malone, where he potentially had a couple of creepy moments, particularly on the phone with Diane, But the lasting image to me was the ladies gripping him and pulling him down below the bar and stripping him, starting with his shoes. The boat shoes flying over the bar. That was quite a moment.
Yeah, Sam's got his hands full this week. Like he can't like you say, he's never going to not creep, but like he just doesn't have time to really work hard.
He was at his baseline 6 for me until the creeper got creeped on.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because I'm not defending him, right? But we know a lot of the times it's like he's not a completely malicious creep. Mm-hmm. He's just one of those people who's never not. He's just a very over flirtatious person. But for him to be on the receiving end was also creepy.
It was weird, but an interesting filler episode of Cheers that I probably judged a little too harshly. But overall, in seasons with a strong narrative arc, an episode that doesn't further anything along stands out, and so it's got to be even funnier. And while there was some good writing there, it did really feel like, all right, we just need to fill this up because we want the finale to come during sweeps. So we're doing one more of these.
Apparently, this was the last episode that Nicholas Colasanto was alive during filming. Like he wasn't allowed to participate. What I read, but that he was watching rehearsals, which for me like kind of helped explain like why, because this felt like the opportunity to like have the episode where everybody grieves the loss of Coach, and the fact that he was that he was still alive while they were filming this at least kind of made sense retrospectively why that's sort of like the glaring thing is that the series doesn't have that. This would have been the spot for it, but I think
the problem is because you're so locked in. One, they had to film the Italy stuff early because Diane was, Shelley Long was having the baby, so they couldn't make any changes to the Italy part of the storyline in the wedding. And if Coach dies, it's insane to think that Diane wouldn't come back for that. So it's like I hear what you're saying, but you really, in terms of narrative, you can't have him die before the Italy finale happens because it changes everything that you've pre-filmed. So it was just a brutal situation for the showmakers to be in, because I'm sure they would have loved to have done something a bit more significant, but you can't. It's like, she was on maternity leave and can't film more stuff. So we just sort of have to go with this. And when we filmed that, we were hoping we had Nick Colasanto for a little bit longer.
Although it's interesting. I watched ahead to the first episode of season 4, and it's interesting how they deal with that, specifically with regards to Diane. And I don't want to talk too much about it since we'll talk about it, but it is an interesting moment, and they still don't. I mean, like the truth is, like she doesn't come back.
She doesn't, but it's because she's left Frasier, and I don't think she hears about it until she has come back to Boston for penance.
Yeah, they've kind of like figured out a timeline, sort of accommodate.
Yeah, her and Sam don't have any contact after the phone call that we have in the next episode. So to me, I because I've watched ahead to that too, I thought that was pretty well handled. I thought it made a lot of sense. It didn't make sense to me while she was talking to Sam all the time that Coach could have passed and she wouldn't come back for that. But her running off and leaving the altar and not talking to anybody for months while she was going to nude beaches in Europe and just traveling all over the place and partying and not in contact with anybody. And then a couple of months later, she's coming back to Boston to make penance. She probably asked a couple of people and she's heard, oh my God, Sam, Coach is gone and I missed it. And I'm sure that's a part of what she feels she is making penance for when she's at the convent. All right. So we are halfway through here. We got to jump into episode 25, season finale, Rescue Me. Dave has already talked about what was going on in the world at that time. Tookie, can you tell us about this poignant cold open?
Bittersweet.
Our last moment with the Coach.
Yeah. It hurt. I had to rewatch it a couple times. It hurt me. I'm not going to lie. Because we at the Ernie Pantuso fan club, better known as Norm, the Cheers podcast.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so we open in on Coach pouring a couple drinks for some patrons at the bar, and a guy sitting at the far end says, "Hey, aren't you Ernie Pantuso?" I'll be. And he asked Coach, "Well, do you remember me?" And Coach says, "Well, gee, sorry, I don't. Let me." And the guy says, "Well, let me give you a hint. Oh, I like hints. Okay, shortstop, Topeka, 1947, and my nickname was Fancy Dan." Joe
Great nickname.
Pitney. Yeah,
Joe Pitney. Great joke that the audience did not give enough love to, by the way.
I
The,
didn't.
au- the audience was off for this
Yeah.
cold open because, like, I thought the jokes were working and they were not responding.
Yeah,
Yeah, my nickname was Fancy Dan. Joe Pitney. Great joke.
yeah. And Coach says, Joe Pitney, and the guy's like, "No, Ernie, I'm Dan Corelli." Danny Corelli, boy, am I happy to see you. And Coach turns to everybody in the bar and just starts announcing, "Listen, everybody, this is one of the most amazing men in the world, one of the most amazing men to ever step into a baseball diamond. He was a great ball player. I know I played against him, but listen, the man is totally blind." Right. And Dan is, "Hey, Ernie, listen, I'm not blind. I never was." And he says, "Oh, come on, Corelli. Don't be modest. You were a legend, an absolute legend. The whole league talked about the blind man that played shortstop for Topeka." And Corelli turns around and he says, But Ernie, you're all confused. They called me the blind man because I sold Venetian blinds door to door during the off season." And Coach is just taken aback. Just, "My God, how did he even find the doorbell? Is that an inspirational story or what?" And they didn't buy your product out of pity now. I'm telling you, Corelli. And, the guy's just, this is too much. He's, "I'll see you later. I'll see you later." He leaves and
Watch the steps, Corelli.
Corelli, watch the steps, please. And Carla comes up to Coach and she goes, "Coach, I think he can see as well as we can." And Coach turns to Carla, "In some ways, he can see more." Inspirational gesture. Cut to credits.
And they slow it down there, that little last moment with Coach.
Gonna miss him.
Oh, good cold open. Yeah, audience, you let me down, audience. I mean, there's a part of me that's like, maybe I shouldn't hold it against them because his health was poor, and I imagine they might have needed to film this a few times, and maybe they heard the Joe Pitney joke like 7 or 8 times and were just not ready to laugh anymore. But you know what? At that point, juice the laughs. That deserves more. Like, sweeten that in post.
Yeah, because it was legit funny and really just delightful. Like a perfect encapsulation of what that character was.
Great cold open.
R.I.P. the goat.
I can't believe we don't have a coach anymore. Okay, but I'm remembering that Woody is very fun and walks into a thankless task and somehow manages to pull that off. So, tip of the cap, Woody Harrelson. We are getting to you next week. It's going to be, and I'm looking forward to it. Okay. Let me see. So basically mostly just an A story with little moments surrounding the A story this week, which is we find out. So we're opening on Sam getting an answering machine, which is a big deal, potential 80s moment. It's a big moment. You're getting an answering machine, and the pressure of recording an amusing outgoing message for the answering machine. It's so different from voicemail. I can't even tell you. I'm pretty sure I've had the same outgoing voicemail for like 11 years. I mean, I've never changed voicemail, and I changed my answering machine outgoing message so many times. It was crazy.
It was the Facebook status of our day.
Yep, that was social media at the time. Yep.
I think I was on the tail end of well, I was part of the ringtone era, but I was on the tail end, and I think I had at one point when I just got my cell phone, the Inspector Gadget theme was my instead of the robot lady. It was the Inspector Gadget theme.
And now we're at the point where I can't remember the last time I heard a ringtone. It's everyone's vibrate.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a different world. All right. So we're here. Sam's getting the answering machine. We go to one of my favorite scenes in Cheers history, and I didn't even remember it until I saw it again for the first time. Luigi going
Oh,
to Chez Luigi, and my God, Martin Ferrero, you are a genius. Who plays the waiter? Later goes on to play the lawyer who gets eaten in Jurassic Park.
What?
Yep, he's the lawyer who leaves the kids and gets eaten on the toilet by the T-Rex in Jurassic
That's
Park.
Toilet Man?
that's
That's
Toilet Man.
Toilet Man, Martin Ferrero. Yep,
Wow. I need a moment.
this legendary scene. And I howled. I watched this scene 3 times. I
Every
watched
time.
the episode twice, and I watched this scene again. The way Frasier has gotten reservations at this very exclusive restaurant. They walk in. He's asking for a good table. No one is in the restaurant. Any table is fine. And the waiter lets them know that they buried the head chef earlier that morning. Luigi. And every time he breaks while saying Luigi, it's fucking brilliant. Oh my God, it was good. Everything he did the whole time. I wish they had guest actor Emmy nominations in 1985 because Martin Ferrero, you deserve a statuette
He
for this scene.
he was
I
so good.
roared.
I thought he was David Strathairn. I was like, there's no way that this person hasn't been nominated for an Academy Award.
Just brilliant. Brilliant. The way, and he went into the audition room and they had the scene and they thought it was funny. And then they watched him do it and said, oh my God, you just made this so much better. You made this so much better. They might have written it where it wasn't even that funny when he said it. It was just grim that the situation was there, and that's where the humor was from. And his delivery was so off the charts every time. And then Frasier is sad because he wanted this moment to be perfect because I was going to ask you to marry me, Diane, which gets the exact response you want when you're saying you want to marry someone. She laughs at him, thinking clearly this is a joke. And then, oh, Frasier. And I watched this scene and I'm again taken with the fact I'm almost I was feeling bad for Frasier for so much of the time. I'm at the point now where I almost feel like, Frasier, some of this is you, buddy. Like when a woman is so clearly not responding the way you want them to, like you can't be in this self-denial place so long. And Frasier, you don't want her to think about this too much, and that's why you scheduled the wedding for the next day. Which who does that? Who does that? I'm proposing today, and I've arranged so that we can get married tomorrow. And the people who will be there will be strangers.
Red flag, red flag, red flag.
Very weird. Very weird. And yet, again, Kelsey Grammer, tip of the cap. It's the 80s. It's a different era, and somehow you buy it. It didn't really even bother me that much until the second time where I started thinking about the logic of it and going, what? But yeah, you watch it and you buy it and you just say, that's how they do it. This is how we get married back here in 1985.
Yeah.
And I'm going to surprise you. She, an 11-month pregnant Shelley Long pretends to spill something on herself so that she can go off and make a phone call to Sam, which, oh my God, Diane, what are you doing? If you're making the phone call, why do this to Frasier? Just say no. Just how trapped does poor Diane feel? Part of me is frustrated with Diane, and then part of me just wants to get her a safe walk out of Italy. Like, how trapped are you that you feel like you got to go ahead and marry this guy tomorrow? And yeah, she calls Sam, and they have a very funny exchange, very well acted on both ends, where they have the bit about, should I say yes? No. I should say no? Yes. And it's really well done, and where Sam can't bring himself to say don't get married, and Diane can't bring herself to say I don't want to get married because I'm still in love with you, and it's really well played. And then they decide to go ahead and get married, but not before the waiter gives them the bill for the food they did not eat. Rips up says, I'm not going to argue with you. And after this podcast is over, I'm going to go watch that scene again.
Oh. Go back to Pittsburgh.
Go back to
Pittsburgh, USA.
To your cowboy boots and missiles.
I don't know why I felt attacked.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah.
It might be the funniest sequence of season 3.
Oh, it's just perfect. It's just perfect. And it's crazy that in all of this, maybe the greatest comedy performance of the season was turned in by Martin Ferreira.
Yeah, who knew?
Who knew? Who knew?
This whole
Just
time
fabulous.
it was Toilet Man. My mind is blown.
Yeah. So the rest of the folks in the bar say, I think she was calling so you'd stop the wedding. And Sam is doing his, no, she wanted me to try to stop her so that she could laugh in my face. Trust me. And then he starts having second thoughts. We have a dream sequence where we don't know it's a dream sequence at first, where he's going to interrupt the wedding. And at first, and it's well played enough that you buy that this might be happening. And then very slowly it becomes clear that it's Sam's fantasy, where he's carrying Diane off and she's saying, and even if you need to be with other women to be happy, that's fine with me. I'm just going to spend the rest of my life trying to please you. And then, he awakens in the bar, realizing he needs to stop the wedding, and then is trying to figure out, and this is my 80s moment of the week, as much as there are other 80s things. It is, how long does it take to get to Italy? Call your travel agent. It's the travel section.
Mm-hmm.
Cliff, you have a travel agent. Can you call your travel agent and find out about getting me on a flight to Italy? It's leaving in 45 minutes.
Oof.
Is nuts. Yes, I'm taking cash out of the register to pay for this ticket to Italy, and let's go.
And the idea that you could catch a flight 45, like you could go to Logan.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Not have to go
That
through
you could
TSA.
Yeah. Nuts. And don't even get me started on the TSA, because that's a whole episode. It's the waste of the TSA. And the number of people who've died because TSA exists is insane. Simply because so many people drive now instead of flying, which is actually far more dangerous, because going to the airport has become such an unholy nightmare. Is awful.
Pre-check though.
What pre-check?
Pre-check.
I've pre-checked. It saves no time. It saves no time.
I don't have to take off my shoes.
And the fact that pre-check even happens is telling you that the TSA is doing nothing. It's like, well, they're not going to lie to us over the internet. What? You could check in ahead of time, and it's totally safe if you just pay us this fee. I'm sorry. Yeah, we don't have enough time for this. We have 17 minutes left. But yeah, TSA. Anyway. So he leaves. We have what is the next scene where it looks like she is calling the bar to try to, Sam, please, for the once in your life, do the right thing. Don't be in the bar, be on a plane. She calls, gets the answering machine, which was very much an 80s thing that I think started with Nothing But Trouble, but might have actually happened here. In Nothing But Trouble, a movie with Jackie Gleason.
Oh, Mike. No, there you are.
Hanks. There is a famous outgoing answering machine message there's in that movie, Nothing in Common with Tom Hanks and Jackie Gleason. There is a famous outgoing answering machine joke. It's not a great movie. It wasn't a hit, but this one bit where he pretends to actually be answering the phone is really, really funny and became famous, and everybody tried to do that. And looking at the times, I should check the dates. I think they might have actually gotten it from this. Where he says, hey, this is Sam. And then, fooled you, you're talking to an answering machine. But in the dream sequence, she just hears that, thinks he hasn't left, and says, why don't we just get married here in this town? And then he wakes up on the plane, flirts with the stewardess, and it's an interesting little cliffhanger as we wait to find out what happens the next week. By the way, in the background, there is what looks to be an Italian Raiders of the Lost Ark poster that I want for my family room so badly, I can't even tell you.
That thing is so cool looking.
Amazing. Love that.
Yeah.
By the way, so one, I love that poster. Two, Sam leaves, and this like 8-month pregnant woman is left to run the bar completely by herself.
But he's a pretty good boss in episode 24.
Yeah.
He's trying to like stop Carla from making a mess out of something. He is leaning hard on her in episode 25.
Oh man.
Like, because she's closing, she's opening. Like, he's not going to be back for at least, if everything goes smoothly, 72 hours.
Poor Carla. I honestly, like, in the previous episode, Norm shuts down the office. I hope Carla shuts down the bar for a couple of days.
Yeah.
I'd love that.
Because she got 6
But
kids.
she works on tips and she can't afford to.
Yeah.
But still, she deserved it. All right. Our thoughts about Rescue Me. I really loved this episode. To the point where I was kind of surprised it wasn't a little higher rated than it was when I was looking it up on IMDb and some of the sites. It was a solid like 7.98. I really thought this was a 9 out of 10. I thought this was a very well-constructed, well-done episode. I get that it's not perfect because you had to pre-film some of the Diane stuff, and she is very, very pregnant in some of it. But it's like, look, that's just life, Just life happens. Ignore it. We all understand that the character is not pregnant and just move past it. But yeah, there's so much good in this episode. I really thought it was exceptional. Your thoughts?
I found myself really liking. I mean, the Luigi stuff is incredible. It's so funny. But the stuff back at the bar and the weird sort of support system that Cliff and Norm and Carla form around Sam as they in kind of rare form actually kind of realize what's going on and are actually very perceptive. Maybe she's calling because she wants you to tell her not to do it. And they're right. Though I found those scenes to be really kind of I was like, oh right, it's another little like chunk where you go, all right, this is actually a weird little family where and it's kind of lovely. Where Norm tries to sort of very gently talk Sam out of it. Sam says he's going, and Norm says that's exactly what I would do. Like they're like, of course you have to go make this. If this is a terrible mistake, but you go do it. We will, and maybe that's everybody's enabling Sam because they'll take care of the bar. They'll figure it out, and that was kind of lovely.
I think it's this general message of a mistake is better than a regret.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
Yeah. Like, go and make this mistake and you won't have any regrets. Yeah. Yeah, I really liked it. Tookie, as the only person here who has ever been proposed to.
Oh.
As you see that proposal scene.
Hell no.
I mean, is there right? Like, no. I'm really curious as to your perspective on it from like, what the hell kind of proposal is that? And also, look at the response to this proposal.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Automatic hell no.
Right.
No. Not doing it. For Frasier and Diane, both of them.
I mean, we've spent a minimum of 6 episodes focused on the fact that Diane is a notable overthinker. And then for him to come into this restaurant and say, I'm proposing to you, and also I'd like to get married tomorrow. Let me know right the second. Like, what do you like? The man is sowing the seeds of his own destruction at all. Like, this is the Frasier that we're going to come to love, which is a bumbling fool. This is not the snipe hunting Frasier. This is a Frasier who's actually quite bad at his job, which is to know how human beings behave.
Right. Yeah, no. Everything is awful. Everything's terrible.
Oof. Yeah. A lot wrong there.
And I will note that this episode seems to be a return to very Caucasian form for Cheers.
Oh,
only
is it
5
a very white episode?
Only 5 people of color to account for.
Okay. Oof. All right.
I mean, how do we grade the Italian people?
As someone who has been mistaken for Italian by 6 separate Uber drivers, I have to get. Yeah, I gotta get back to you on that one.
Okay, that's fair.
All right, fair. Your joke of the week, Tookie.
Joke of the week. It's not that it was funny. It's not that it was funny. It was messed up, but the fact it was so surprisingly messed up that it caught me off guard and I laughed because haha, oh shit, right? When Sam is talking about Frasier, people are like, oh, you're going out there for Diane, for yourself. No, it's for Frasier. Nobody deserves to be married to that woman. that was
Yeah.
Fair. Dave, your joke of the week.
I really like the middle joke out of the sort of the three Luigis that they build. When Luigi's talking about the new chef, the new man, he's very good. He is studied under the world's greatest chef.
Yeah.
I was so torn. I wanted to give it to every Luigi joke. I just really, they're not taking this well. I really loved that. If I have to do a non-Luigi one, I'm just because we've given the Luigi stuff so much love. I did kind of, in a very classic, mean-spirited, and yet it made me laugh both times I heard it. When they were talking about when Cliff said, "Boy, if I were a woman, that would get me," and Carla said, "What if you were a man?" Which is mean, and yet the delivery, and because it was sort of a creepy 2-week stretch for Cliff, I was sort of fine with Carla being mean to him. This opens, I wrote that down. It's a rough stretch for Gross Cliff. Starting with, hey, I called your sister-in-law and did my pervert voice. Something about the Cheers writers' room where they thought that obscene phone calls were quite amusing.
That was one of my 80s moments.
Yeah.
Heavy breathing.
Yeah, very unusual. Thank you, caller ID.
I've mentioned that my aunt got a obscene phone call as we were sitting Shiva for my grandfather, right?
Oh no.
No.
Oh, yeah. That's like the worst possible.
It was actually kind of great in a weird way. Like we're all like hanging out at her house in Long Island, and the phone rang, and she started screaming like at the perpetrator. We were like, "What?" She's like, "Oh, it's heavy breathing." It was kind of, it wasn't a super tense experience anyway, but I'd like to think that my grandfather was probably party to this on some level.
Oh God.
Wait a minute, is this the same? This is the same funeral with the tie, right?
This is the same funeral with the tie.
How have I never heard this addendum to the tie story?
Well, because the tie story kind of is, kind of encapsulates itself perfectly.
It is a very fun, self-contained story. Okay, your 80s moments of the week. And mine was, flying in 45 minutes. That was my 80s moment by far. Dave, your 80s moment.
I'm going to say specifically the idea of putting a joke message on your answering machine, which like really hit its apex when you got to the crazy calls in a commercial from, I think.
You gotta leave your name, you gotta leave your number, but wait for the beep. Haven't we referenced this before on the show, Tookie? There was a commercial for a cassette tape you could buy with like 8 wacky outgoing messages called Crazy Calls.
Oh, God.
There was a rap, which was the one that everybody remembered.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the right look for the rap. There was the opera, Nobody's Home, Nobody's Home. I never knew an actual human being who owned Crazy Calls.
No
one all knew the commercial.
Nobody owned it, but but it belonged to all of us.
Okay.
I'll post it on the Facebook page today, the link to it, because it's a time capsule.
I have questions.
This will not answer them, but at least like give you some parameters to work within.
Fair enough.
It took your 80s moments.
Okay. Selling
Keeping
blinds.
in mind, we have 5 minutes and 40 seconds left.
I know. Selling blinds door to door.
Yep.
That was wild. And reference to a 747. I feel like at some point, didn't they discontinue that line? Boeing?
I don't know.
Boeing, I know they grounded their, I think the 737.
737
a year or two ago, because there was something with the computer. I don't think there's a problem with the 747.
But I feel like at some point they're not, and people at this point, every plane that I've flown on in the past several years has been an Airbus and some sort of Airbus model. So the Boeing 747 having its heyday, having a moment, that being the airplane for especially for international travel, really had a peak in, I want to say, like the late. It was huge when Pan Am came out in the 60s, et cetera, and the 70s, but it wasn't as much of a thing when I was little, and it's not really as much of a thing now. At least for domestic travel, which I do mostly. But 747s aren't as big in the zeitgeist of the US.
We get it,
100%.
Tookie. You're traveling. You're fancy.
Oh my God. I only fly Mint on JetBlue. Okay.
My dream is to fly Mint. That's all I want for Christmas.
We did it for the honeymoon.
I want my own little pod.
Honeymoon adjacent. Not like our actual honeymoon is later, but we went on a cruise and docked on March 14th, 2020.
Oh,
I remember that. I remember you talking about that.
Yeah.
Wow.
But we flew Mint back to Boston.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. Same creepy quotient. 9. Carrying your bride off and having her in your dream talk about being with other women, I guess in today's day and age might be viewed as a healthy view towards polyamory. It still strikes me as creepy.
It's creepy.
He checks out that stewardess for way too long.
Yeah. It's at a 9 because a lot of it happened in his head. He didn't actually implement the creeping. But in real life, it would have been 37.
That would have had those been actual physical maneuvers, it would have. Okay, I buy that.
It's up.
Mike, are you frozen again?
Oh no,
it's up there. All right, wow, we actually managed to squeeze it all in.
You're here. You're here.
Am I here? Okay. We actually managed to get this all in. I'm proud of us. We got both episodes in. Any final thoughts on Rescue Me before we go?
Does exactly what you want this show to do, which is to be really funny and also like just make a great cliffhanger for the lead in for the next season.
Yep. Well structured, well done episode.
R.I.P. Coach.
Hats off. R.I.P. Coach.
100%.
We're coming back with season 4. R.I.P. season 3. Really tremendous season of TV by Cheers. Very impressive. Very well done. I liked it. Season 4. I've looked ahead a little bit, and I'm very hopeful. It's a strong season. There's good stuff going on in there.
Agreed.
Yeah. Yep. A banger of an episode to bring us in. The season premiere is very, very good. So looking forward to that. Anything to promote before we go? Tookie, any shows?
I'll be at Laugh Boston Friday, Saturday.
Very nice. Who are you with?
Mateo Lane is in town.
Excellent.
He and his mustache are going to be in Boston. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. I'm excited.
It would be weird if he left his mustache behind. And Dave, you are doing a special promotion with your album, correct?
Yeah, if you buy my album this week, I'm going to donate and match all sales and donate to a couple of charities that benefit trans youth in Texas.
Nice.
So everything I make this week will get donated and matched. Check out my website, daverabinow.com for details.
Excellent.
Heck yeah.
Go. Look, the album's great. Yeah. I, as usual, have nothing. Of course, like the first couple of shows I've done in forever, we were off. So I did not promote them at all. But people still came, and it was fine. It was fun. It was fine. It was fun. We did it. And I don't think I have anything going on this week. But next week, we'll be back with more Norm the Cheers podcast, bringing you season 4. Welcome, Woody Harrelson. Coach, God rest you.
Oh, we're sticky.
All right,
We're
I might
sticky.
be frozen again. Nope, you're back. Okay.
You're good.
All right, we're getting sticky. Okay, bye, everybody. Take care. Stay healthy. Stay safe.